And there was another one. There was a very small project that was in Malawi. Um, I got stranded in Malawi. My bike got stuck, and I was invited to stay in somebody's house. And this guy used to be a professor in the capital. And this area was very poor. They didn't have any electricity there, so nothing. And they have a big problem with the erosion because the people have been cutting down trees and burning them to turn them into charcoal and sell them to the truck drivers who are on the way to the city. So agriculture had very limited possibilities in that area. So no electricity, no good agriculture. The only thing that grew there was corn. And
Malawi, small country, is it?
Small country, yeah. Yes, it's a very thin country. It's like central, south of the middle. It's next to Zambia. It's east of Zambia.
So they are doing planting trees or something.
So actually, what happened there is that they also have a HIV problem. So what kind of project? This guy actually, when he retired from university, he got back to the area where he came from, this very poor area. And what did he start? What do you think? He started a little factory in making roof tiles. I mean, why roof tiles? I asked him, so why are you making roof tiles? And he said, well, he explained me about the erosion problem and the fact that they could only grow corn. He said, you know what happens? Like, once the rainy season starts, if you don't have roof tiles, then the water just comes through your roof, right? And so they have thatched roofs that, like, with reeds, with natural materials, they make these roofs. But they start to leak within the rainy season. The water comes through. That means that the crops, the corn is getting wet. That means they start to rot. That means that there is no food. Once the rainy season starts, within 2 weeks, all the food is spoiled. So everything is gone, and people become hungry. So that the period between the rainy season and the harvest season, there is no food there. So that is
every year, ridiculous.
Every year. So he came up with the idea, okay, why am I not going to make roof tiles? But he had very little money, so he built half a factory, and he was waiting to get more money, to save more money to make the other half of the factory. And then he also realized that because there was so much HIV, many people died. Parents died, and there were kids there who were orphans. So he started an orphanage. He built a school, again, half a school, not the entire school. It was not completed yet, but half a school, and he didn't make any money. So what he did, he got the orphans who lived there, and in the morning they would go to school. In the afternoon, they would do farming or little construction, etc. So he gave them he taught them practical skills on how they could make a living, like hairdressing and things like that. They were just kids, and you could say, well, why are they working? But actually, nobody was looking after these kids, and they were getting practical skills. So he was doing all these things, and he was planting trees in the area. But this guy had very little money, so the progress was very step by step, very much the African way. But if you find projects like this, if you find, and obviously roof tiles there, it's a brilliant idea. It's very practical. It's not sexy, but it really solves a problem there. So these kinds of projects, if a country like Japan would support this guy by giving him not millions and millions of dollars, but just $50,000 or something like that, and help him to finish his factory, for example, then he could make a difference. this kind of aid, I think, would really make sense. But you have to be careful, because probably when the $50,000 would hit the bank, his son would take it from his father, and he would run off and live like a king for a year, and then come back.
And it's I think kind of activity is very good idea. But Africa is a very huge continent, right?
Yes.
And if we're going to thinking about what we're going to do for them, like a big vision, right?
Right.
You said AIDS, HIV is.
Right.
We don't know how many people they have that kind of disease. Only developed countries they got statistics, but Sudan, Uganda, they don't know how many people are just infected by the HIV. But sort of no statistics in almost all countries.
It's a big problem. I actually, when I studied in university, my goal, my dream was to work in Africa and to help to develop countries in Africa on development projects. But since I was studying economics, I wanted to graduate and write my thesis about economic development problems in Africa. But when I started to look for data and for information, I found that there is no data. So that basically writing a thesis about Africa was impossible. So I changed my mind, and I wrote it about Central Europe and Eastern Europe, like Russia and Central Europe, simply because there was no data, unfortunately.
Oh, Central Europe still they don't know data?
No, Central Europe had data, so that's why I changed my mind. After being in the library for a couple of weeks looking for data on Africa, I didn't find anything. So I went back to my professor and said, sorry, I changed my mind. I'm going to write my thesis about
Okay.
Central Europe.
No. So maybe you pick it up. Africa is very interesting countries, and we focus on kind of you're talking about is what we can do for them, or just actually the many countries involved in that project, but in many cases no responsibility. For example, many countries they have minerals, but some countries they after independence they do not know how to develop those mines. So, and including corruption of local governments. So they're dealing with European countries or European companies. They gave them with bribe their right?
There's a vicious circle.
Oh yes, that's currently. Yeah. So it's like Botswana. But like one example, Botswana is Ian Khama is a president. He's very good president. Okay.
Right.
No corruption,
but this
no
is
bribe.
a country that's actually quite rich.
Yeah.
Botswana is
Because
rich.
the reason
And,
is simple. Not why rich, because the president is very good president. His father and he himself for many decades he managed that country well. That reason why that country is rich.